You're listening to Friends and Family Capital's First Principles Finance. Our goal is simple: keep you building. Each episode, we discuss tactical questions from our network. I'm Colin Anderson, founding partner of Friends and Family Capital and the former CFO of Palantir Technologies. After years in the trenches, we'll explore the scar tissue, frameworks, and insights that help entrepreneurs turn finance into a force multiplier. Let's jump in. Welcome back. This episode, I want to cover a question I've gotten a few times in the last few weeks from multiple founders. Seems worthy of bringing up here. Question really centers around the tension of you're asked about your business from someone, and they're asking the question in a way that doesn't actually align with how you're thinking about building your business. So an example, you're standing in front of your company all-hands meeting, or you're talking to a current investor or a potential investor, and you get a question, let's say around sales. What's your revenue goal for the end of the year? What's your NRR goal for the end of the year? Or on profitability, hey, what's your free cash flow going to be at the end of the year? What's your margin? Something that is a perfectly valid question, but may not be exactly the way you think about running your business. How do you handle it? And how do you handle it in a way that lets you speak with conviction about your business and also brings the questioner into the boat with you so that maybe they can help you reach that goal? Really excited to unpack that today. Let's look at the first principles that we should think about here. Really, it's what's the atomic unit of your business and what are the levers of control that you have? What are the decisions that you make, the units that you track, the goals that you set, and how do you talk about your business in that way? And then help others realize that those are the independent variables, and maybe the question they're asking about is the dependent variable. So the real question isn't, what's my revenue going to be this year? The real question might be, let's look at the atomic units of how I run my business, and I'm going to explain to you exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to explain to you why I'm excited to do those, and I'm going to explain to you where it might go right and might go wrong. Now, in all of those cases, there's going to be some answer on how it impacts the questioned variable, right? How will it impact revenue? But let's talk about things your way. I like to jump in with a specific example, make this really tangible. Think about sales. Someone asks, what's your revenue? What's your NRR going to be? Will you beat 125% NRR this year? It's a great question. It's perfectly valid, especially for someone who maybe looks at more mature companies or a broad swath of companies, but you're in the trenches. You're just trying to run your business and execute. You don't even run your business on this metric. What do you do? So as a reframe of the first principles of what we're looking at here, really we're looking at how do you run your business? How does someone think you run your business? And how do you talk about it using similar language that's meaningful to both sides? Let's jump into a sales example just to really make this tangible. On the operator side, you're thinking about hiring employees that can go out and deliver value to your customers. You're thinking about hiring engineers that can build the product that you can deliver to customers to deliver value. You're thinking about customers. You're thinking about SKUs, products that you're delivering to those customers, and maybe outcomes, maybe consumption-based. But those are the atomic units of how you think about building your business. You need to make a hire. You need to make a sale. You need to have a sales meeting. You have a demo. You have to get an executive sponsor. Those are things that you're probably tracking internally. Those are things that people inside your company fall asleep at night thinking about. So what do you do when you're asked about NRR? What's your net recurring revenue going to be at the end of the year? Well, you don't think about that. But what you can do is think about what's under your control. Who do you hire? Which meetings do you take? Do you agree to these contractual terms? Did you ship your product on time? And translate those into answer the question that the audience has. And that can help eliminate some of that tension and also let you speak with more conviction on what you're building and why you're so excited by it. And where if you hit some headwinds and it doesn't quite go as planned, how you can parameterize that. It's not a binary. Did you hit your number? Did you not? It's all right. Here's all the data. Let me tell you what I'm going to do about it. And that really gives credibility as an operator of a business, especially one with the complexity that you understand that an outsider may not even know the right question to ask about. So let's look at this specific case. We'll look at it through the lens of the example presented, net revenue retention. Hey, what's your number going to be? I think in this specific case, it was, is your goal going to be 125%, 130%? Where do you think it's going to end up this year? And really, as a founder, it was, all right, well, I've got my goals, but that's not one of them. And I don't know, how do you solve that? What's your goal for what you do with those units and the physics by the end of the year? And through that, you'll probably get an output of whatever question someone might ask you. Think of those as your independent variables. That's the things in your control. That's the levers you can pull. That's your sales contracts. That's your new hires. That's your demos that you did. That's your phone screens. It's all the things that you're tracking, the language, the lexicon of how you think about your business. That's what's really important. Those are the independent variables. An exogenous party, they're just asking the question they think they need to ask to try to understand that. But it may not be the right question, so you can bring them along for the ride. If someone says, hey, what's your NRR going to be? Really, they just want to know, are your customers happy? Do you think they're going to stick around? Do you think they're going to buy more? That's really the whole context of that question. So in this particular example, really it was breakdown. You can do it for any example. Hey, great question. We don't really run our business on that way, but I think it's going to be good. Let me tell you how I'm laser focused. Let me tell you what I'm focused on building. I'm just going to riff here, but I'm trying to double my customer count. Right now I have an attach rate where a third of my customers have 2 products. I'm trying to double that. Right now my price point is at X, and my goal is to maintain, if not increase, that average price point. Now, you probably have someone inside your company that's thinking about those things, owning those goals. You can talk about it more richly and you can see what exactly they're doing, the levers that they're pulling. That's a great way to answer the question. But you probably also have run those parameters. If you know your key variables and you know how they interact, you probably know an output of something that speaks to what the person's asking. So you could say, hey, look, if I do my goals, even if I slip a little bit, I still think I'm going to come in at 120 NRR, maybe even 140. Awesome. You've talked about your business and the way you think about it. You've unpacked it and gone a few levels deeper. You've talked about the physics of the way the things you think about actually combine and grow and output. And then you've parameterized a dependent variable for them in the lens that they asked for. And what does that do? One, it shows that you have severe command of your business, which is great. It gives you conviction to talk about the things that you're doing and what you can control, what you can't control. And it also brings the audience, the questioner, into the boat with you. So maybe they might be able to help you on some of those things. Maybe they're a former operator themselves. Maybe they have a customer relationship that could be helpful. Bring them into the boat if you feel comfortable. And now at least they're put in a position where they can help you. And when you do all that, you'll have answered your question. You'll have more confidence about your business. It also gives you a better understanding that, hey, maybe just because someone asked the wrong question, it's not that they don't care. It's that they just aren't in a position to know the right question, and you can help them answer that. To close this one out, really, you're going to get questions all the time from people on your business, how you're thinking about goal setting, how you're thinking about planning, what do you want to achieve. Maybe don't take the literal question, but you can say, all right, what are they trying to get at? And chances are it's going to be something about, tell me how your business works. And as long as you have a clear understanding of the atomic units of your business, the contracts, the widgets, the SKUs, the new hires, the companies in which you operate, the office locations, then you can answer almost any question that comes at you, and you can parameterize to bring them in the boat with you. Thanks so much. Thanks for listening to Friends and Family Capital's First Principles Finance. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a rating on Apple or Spotify. It helps our founders and finance leaders find the show, and it helps us course correct as we build. We appreciate you listening. See you next time.
A note from our friends in legal. The views expressed here are those of the individual Friends and Family Capital Management, F&FC, personnel quoted, and are not necessarily the views of FNFC or its affiliates. All opinions expressed herein by F&FC personnel or guests are solely their own opinions and may not reflect the opinion of F&FC. Opinions are subject to change without notice. This content is for information purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.